Big Questions with the Dead Milkmen. Each week while working on the new album, the Dead Milkmen ask each other a question.
In the meadow we can build a snowman and pretend that he is Parson Brown. He'll say, "Are you married?" We'll say, "No, man." He'll say, "Sinners, you're making a mockery of God's sacred gift of sex."
Wild, flagrant abuses of the God-given gift of sex.
All right, hello everybody. Welcome to the Life Day edition of Big Questions with the Dead Milkmen. Will Han and Chewie make it to the Wookiee planet in time? We don't know. This episode is actually, it is worst and not so worst holiday music. In other words, to be more precise, what is the worst holiday song of all time? And is there any good holiday music? Now, for those of you who are not here in the studio with us, the band is not allowed to choose as the worst song, either Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time or Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, because everybody hates those songs. But there's a good chance that right before we do recommendations, we might just take a minute or two and rip into those tunes. So you're going to want to stay tuned for that. So I just want to say, by holiday music, I mean Christmas music, because that's what we've been suffering from it for a couple months now. This is going to air on Christmas Day. We've had to listen for Christopher Hitchens once said a very smart thing. He said a lot of smart things, but he said Christmas always reminded him of North Korea when they would have the great leader's birthday. And then they would you'd have to sing the great leader's birthday song and put up pictures of the great leader everywhere. So that is always felt relevant to me. And I can only think of one terrible Hanukkah song, and that is the Hanukkah song by Adam Sandler. And I'm thinking, 5,000 years of suffering, and then the Jewish people had to also endure the Hanukkah song by Adam Sandler. So I am no more beating around the burning bush. I'm going to tell you now what my least favorite holiday song is of all time, and it is "Baby It's Cold Outside." And the reason for this is a lot of people pointed out. A lot of people say that song's about date rape, and they do have a very valid point. It does seem to be about date rape, especially if you listen to the version which is sung by Bill Cosby and Marilyn Manson. But some other people say, oh, why do you have to be so PC? Why are you so woke? Why are you trying to cancel "Baby It's Cold Outside"? If it weren't for a Bronze Age sky god forcing himself upon a young girl in first century Palestine, we wouldn't even have Christmas. And those people make a good point. I mean, the second part, which is, thinking about that, we probably shouldn't have Christmas. I mean, it's kind of creepy now that I mention that. But the one of the main reasons that I really dislike "Baby It's Cold Outside," it makes me think of a duo that it was a big hit for. And that duo are called, they put out Christmas albums apparently every year. They're called She and Him. And She and Him are Zooey Deschanel and some guy whose name I don't know. But he looks like that guy that whenever you used to go to a party, there'd be a guy who was always permanently in the friend zone. You know what I mean? You see a couple talking over there and you go, oh, are they dating? And so I go, oh, he wishes. So that's pretty much what they look like. If gentrification was a band, this is what it would. You guys ever see Being Quirky with Zooey Deschanel on Saturday Night Live? I'll put up some of those. It is literally that sketch personified. And what really brings me down about, because it makes me think of those two, is in my lifetime, we went from Wendy O. Williams and Lemmy to these perpetual prepubescents. How? It's like, it just bothers the hell out of me. So that is why I am not a big fan of "Baby It's Cold Outside" and that, and of course the problematic reasons. So now that I've angered myself, I'm going to move on to some Christmas music that I actually do kind of like. The first is, I can't believe this person never got a Nobel Prize for poetry. The kid who thought of "Jingle Bells, Batman Smells, Robin Ran Away," Robin laid an egg, the Batmobile lost his wheel. That is brilliant. Some kid thought that up sang it on the playground. Yeah, and kids automatically started like repeating it. And he's probably in a bar somewhere right now, kicking back tea with Bailey's in it and going, I wrote that. He's probably, I don't know, I probably never got him laid or anything. He was probably dating. He's probably on his Tinder app. Like, I'm the guy that came up with Jingle Bell. And also, apparently, they used to come up with kids. This is how I know this. Kids used to come up with really interesting lyrics because every year when they would gather us in elementary school to come sing holiday songs, we would go to sing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and the principal or the music teacher or whoever was in charge of this fiasco would yell at us. He goes, "All right, you're going to sing the real lyrics. I do not want to hear Rudolph the Red-Nosed Robber or Rudolph the Red-Nosed Racist." What? That's a thing? So yeah, so those are two that I like. Also, I'm going to recommend Christmas Time in Hollis by Run DMC. So good that it's in Die Hard. So, and Die Hard, when Bruce Willis says, don't you have any Christmas music? And limo drivers, this is Christmas music. He's right. That's one of the few Christmas songs that I actually like. And then I'm going to recommend an entire entire album. This is The Bells of Dublin by the Chieftains. And it's extra special this year because Paddy Maloney, the leader of the Chieftains, passed away. But this is a great, if like me, you don't care for Christmas music, this is the one Christmas album you will care for. Who is on it? It's got Marion Faithfull is on it. Elvis Costello is on it, singing a song about a family that implodes on the day after Christmas. The song sadly isn't as good as my description. Jackson Browne, believe it or not, sings a song called The Rebel Jesus, which is actually a really good song. I don't like Jackson Browne. He's a little problematic too. But yeah, and this is the big surprise. Burgess Meredith is on this. Yeah, and he rules. I just want to say, for those of you watching who aren't from Philadelphia, you're probably like, Burgess Meredith, wasn't he the Penguin? But to those of us who live in Philly, Burgess Meredith is the guy who trained Rocky. And so he's famous for that, like, I'm gonna train you. First, he doesn't want to train him. He goes, I'm not gonna train you, Rocky. You're a bum. You're dirt. You're lower than whale shit in the Marianas Trench, Rocky. And then like, Rocky's feelings get hurt. And he walks out and the Penguin goes chasing after him. So, and Burgess Meredith does kill. I'm to be serious for a second. It is really, really a good album. And I really, really, really recommend it. So yes, that is The Bells of Dublin. So to sum up, the worst holiday song of all time, Baby It's Cold Outside, particularly the she and him version. And then the best holiday stuff can be found on this album, The Bells of Dublin by the Chieftains. Thank you. I think we move on to Joe now, who has been drinking beer for a while.
Well, first I'll say I have a soft spot in my heart for Christmas music that originated in the 1700s, 1800s. I guess you'd call it what we call traditional hymns now. But like Joy to the World or Oh Holy Night, I've always liked that kind of music in general, but I don't like a lot of modern Christmas music, and I really don't like most of the Santa Claus songs. I think my least favorite Christmas song is Santa Claus is Coming to Town. And I don't like the song anyway. I think it's a little creepy, but especially that Santa's constantly watching people all the time and judging people and scaring people into trying to be good so they can get some gifts.
Santa Claus only brings presents to them that's been good all year. To the ones that ain't done nothing naughty, doggy. All the other ones, all the naughty ones, he punishes. What about you, boy? You've been good all year? You see Santa Claus tonight? You better run, boy. You better run for your life.
But what really soured me to this song is the version that Bruce Springsteen came at, or
Oh, some of you
recorded, I
fellas
guess,
ain't been too good.
in
I
the
didn't hear that one
mid-70s.
yet. I don't want to hear that one. I've made it so far and I haven't heard it this year.
You gotta rock and roll that song.
It came out in 1982 on record. And it ever since, it's, at least in the Philadelphia area, it got played on the radio way too many times on rock stations, on non-rock stations. Yeah, I can do without that. But there is a Santa Claus song that I love, and it's called Tinkertown Santa Claus. And it's by the Cricketones. It might be a little obscure.
Two people have heard it, you and me, and I only heard it because you haven't.
Well, Dean must have heard it. I played it in the Dead Milkmen band.
Yeah.
Forced people to listen to it. But it came out on the label Cricket Records, which is for kids, on a 45 Christmas themed record. And yeah, I don't know too many people who've heard it, but it's about Santa Claus for Tinkertown. And I tried to find out where Tinkertown was. Apparently there is a famous Tinkertown in Massachusetts. I don't know if that's the Tinkertown, but it dates all the way back to the Pilgrim days. But Santa Claus, the people of Tinkertown can't control their voices. They can't sing properly, and all they want for Christmas is the wherewithal to control their voices so they can sing properly. They don't want a material gift, they just want to be able to sing. Otherwise, it sounds like they're singing in a hole. That's one of the lyrics. It's an absurd, weird song.
I have the Bruce Springsteen version of it, where it's like, oh, some of you Tinkertown folks haven't been too good this year.
Well, that would probably ruin it for me, but I'm curious to hear it.
It plays in my head all the time. They sound like they're singing in a hole.
Wow, you remember it. So you're...
I can't forget anything. We established this earlier.
It's on YouTube. We'll put a link to the YouTube recording of it.
Sorry for the interruption, but I just want to say, do yourselves a favor and go watch Tinkertown Santa Claus. It's in the links in the description, but if you want to pause right after I'm done speaking, go watch it and then come back. That's good too. It is the stuff of nightmares. It will haunt you for the rest of your life. I'm not exaggerating. Tinkertown Santa Claus scares the hell out of me. This is like if you had a serial killer neighbor, this is what he would play very loudly all the time as he dug graves in his backyard. All right, thank you very much, and now back to the show.
Oh, it'll be a treat.
You'll be singing it. You'll be humming it on your way home from the vomitorium.
You have a best one too?
What?
So that was
Wasn't
That was
That
his best
was it.
one.
Oh, that was the best. Oh,
Think about that. That's the best Christmas song he could think of is Tinkertown people. See, that's how bad Christmas music is.
I do have 2 CDs I play almost every year. I might as well show you them. This one is called A Medieval Christmas, and it's by the Boston Camerata, Joel Cohen director. If you like Gregorian chant, you might be into this. I do. It's a lot of, I guess what you call a cappella or very sparsely accompanied music that originated in the Middle Ages. The liner notes say they had to guess on some things because the notation from back then didn't survive. It didn't survive translation into modern times. So, and also they don't have an accurate recording of what exact instruments were playing what, but they approximate it.
It's Christmas time and Limball's dead. Fa la 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 la. It's Christmas time and Limball's dead. Fa la 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 la.
And then the other one I like is Christmas with Solid Brass, and that's more like traditional Christmas music. The Messiah, the Hallelujah chorus from the Messiah is on here, but it's no lyrics, it's just brass, and it reminds me of the church music I heard when I was a kid in church.
Mad props, by the way, to Joel Cohen, for producing the Christmas album. And you see, like, you know, so Mrs. Cohen, what's your son been up to? Nothing. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, plus one from the Middle Ages.
His brother's a doctor.
Yeah, I like the dreidel song. I like the game too. It's catchy. I hate Christmas music. I really do. I can't think of a fucking song that I like. I will tell you that I can tolerate certain versions of the songs. I like the Ventures Christmas album and the that Ferrante and Teicher, whatever, where they use all these like weird instruments and toys. It was done in like the 50s. And I like the Grinch song because it's kind of catchy and it's kind of like, you know, I don't like it. It all kind of sounds the same. I actually chose Santa Claus is Coming to Town, but Joe took it. And I was going to say the same thing because I read the lyrics and I remember even as a kid, I was like, it's kind of disturbing. And if you actually like sing it or just read it or say it out loud, it's really creepy. If somebody overheard you, they might think that they should notify the authorities or something.
My stocking. Santa?
Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus.
Are you familiar with the Springsteen version of that song?
What?
Are you familiar with the Springsteen version of that song?
I also,
Sounds like you had COVID before anybody had COVID.
I hate the fact that it seems like musicians or bands feel maybe in some sense obligated to make some kind of Christmas thing. And I wonder about the Kinks because as a kid, I really liked that song, Father Christmas, because I knew it was a Christmas song, but it was not like a joyous, like he was talking about like punching kids and that song, and he says, you know, he said Santa Claus is my dad or something, and I was like, wait, what?
I saw Mommy kissing Santa Claus. I'm sorry, Billy. Santa Claus doesn't wear a sailor suit. I was not.
I heard the Jackson 5 version of that one earlier today, and there's that weird like 16 bar like synth solo in the middle of it. Do you remember that? In the I'll have to find that and provide a link to it. There's this weird like 16 bar synth solo in the middle of the Jackson 5 version of I Saw Daddy or Mommy Kissing Santa Claus. Anyway.
Rick Wakeman just wandered by the studio.
Yeah, it's totally weird and out of place. It's so bizarre.
So yeah, I guess that's it. I just I do like that. I like the chord progression in that song, "Oh Holy Night." I don't really know what the lyrics are, but I've heard it a million times.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I just like the way that the chords kind of work.
And it's in 6/8. Yeah.
You guys remember Letterman? Every year, Paul Schaefer would tell a story about having to work with Cher and how Cher would come out with her hands in a muff and sing "Oh Holy Night," and then Paul Schaefer would imitate Cher going "Oh Holy Night." Go look that up. It's just glorious.
Okay, well, luckily I picked two worst ones. To preface my answer, though, I actually have a pretty high tolerance for Christmas music. I actually don't mind hearing it as much as I know a lot of people hate hearing it. But I too, like Rodney, I chose "Baby It's Cold Outside" as my first choice. It is just a strange, creepy song. I don't know if Rodney found the video, but I'll provide the link if he didn't. I found an interesting YouTube video where you can watch, I guess it's from a movie, a man and a woman sing the song as it was originally intended. But spliced to the end of that is another version from another movie where the roles of the song, the lines of the song are switched between the man and the woman. And it's the woman trying to get the man to stay at her house. And incidentally, the man, most people watching this will be too young, but the man is played by Red Skeleton. I'm pretty sure that Joe and Rodney know who that is. I don't know about Dan. Yeah. So I'll provide the link to that. But the other song that I picked that I really can't stand, and thankfully I haven't heard yet, and I didn't even listen to it while researching this question, is Feliz Navidad, written by Jose Feliciano in 1970.
Depends on the artist. You know, Jose Feliciano, you got no complaints. Waiter!
The song is just so insipid. It's like 8 lines repeated over and over and over again. It sends my father into like, he will just shriek and just like, turn that thing off. He cannot stand that song, and I can't stand it either.
I swear there's subliminal messages in it or something.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Hearing it over now that you've said it.
It's just lyrically so irritating. It's just the same 8 lines over and over and over again.
I kind of like it because I don't speak Spanish, so I can put any words in there. It's like Feliz Navidad, taco, burrito, patio, la la la.
According to ASCAP, it's one of the top 25 most played and recorded Christmas songs around the world. I'm sure it's made Mr. Feliciano a ton of money and a nice living, but I just can't stand that song. And as for good holiday music, I'm going to call out, I may have mentioned this I know I've talked about it to other people before. There's a recent holiday album released by a guy named J.D. McPherson. It came out in 2018. It's all new Christmas songs. The LP has like a 50s, 60s rockabilly type feel. And the album is called Socks. And a couple of standout tracks, which I'll provide the links to down below. The title track, Socks. And there's another one called Holly, Carol, Candy, and Joy, which is pretty cool and clever. The lyrics are pretty clever, and the band is pretty tight and pretty good. So I recommend that as an alternative, different kind of a Christmas album.
There's part of me that kind of likes Feliz Navidad. I don't know why. Maybe it was because maybe it upsets the build the wall people. I don't know, but I really do. All right, before we move on to recommendations, let's talk for a minute about Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer and Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time. Two of the not only the worst holiday songs, two of the worst songs ever written. Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. If Christmas songs are serial killers, that's John Wayne Gacy. It's in a clown costume. You know what I mean? You can kind of ignore it. It's over there making balloon animals. But the other one, Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time, is like the Ted Bundy of Christmas music. And I have a theory. I think John Lennon is indirectly responsible for this song, because John Lennon was writing these like he wrote that, and so this is Christmas. The irony of John Lennon singing "War is Over" when he helped fund the IRA. I always wonder if some guy got shot with a bullet that John Lennon paid for while that song was playing in the background. Oh, what a hopeful song! Maybe we can. But John Lennon wrote these really downbeat songs. And if you do that, there's always somebody either in your band or an ex-partner who feels the need to write upbeat. I'm not going to name anybody. They write upbeat songs. You might have an album that has like Stewart on it and Punk Rock Girl. And there's always that dichotomy there. And I'm wondering if that was it. If Paul McCartney heard this, and so this is Christmas, and thought, I'll show him. I'll write something really happy. But I really, we can. The only thing I can really say about Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer is I once met somebody who said his 8-year-old son was really smart because he knew all the lyrics to Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. And I was like, cool, let me call Harvard now, get him into early admissions.
As far as the other song, which I'm not even going to name it, I can't even get through the full title. I heard a snippet of it, and it was the beginning of it. Mm-hmm. And at first I was like, what the fuck is this? And then I was like, oh, it's that song. And I thought, I wonder if Paul McCartney was like in the studio and he had some weird effect pedal and he was like, oh, this is a great bass sound. I should just write an entire song of this weird sound. It's a piece of shit that I'm churning out here because I'm just like this sound because it's obnoxious. Sorry, we could do a whole episode about that song. I have such a passionate.
Just a horrible. I every year I managed to avoid Christmas music, and I had to endure that song twice this year. I had to hear it twice. Once when I went to get my booster shot, And then I forget. Oh, I went to the store the other day to pick something up for Vienna, and I had to pick something, and I had to wait. And while I'm waiting, of course, it's like they spot me on the camera. Go,
see, you remember where you were each time you heard it. It's dramatic.
Yeah. That's how bad it is. It's that dramatic. We should be able to sue Paul McCartney. There should be like a class action lawsuit for people that to hear simply having. I don't think I've ever met anybody that really likes that song. If I do, again, they're probably, like a serial killer. I bet you serial killers just have that on a constant loop going in the background. Joe, do you have any thoughts on this?
It's not my least favorite. I mean, I can tolerate that.
I'd sooner listen to that than Feliz Navidad, to be honest.
I like it better than the John Lennon Happy Christmas song.
Yeah, I don't like the Happy Christmas song at all.
The war is over.
Simple. Yeah, and again, it's too simple. It's anybody can write a song saying war is bad, And then also, and if you're also funding the IRA at the same time, there's a mixed message there. I don't know. All right, boy, I can't wait to look at the comments this week. This is going to be really good. We called God a sex pest like 2 minutes into it. And then, all right, let's go to recommendations. Thank God we're getting to those. All right, this week I'm going to begin with a recommendation for Yellow Jackets. Why the hell aren't people watching this? It's one of the greatest shows in the history of television. And I keep seeing articles saying, why aren't people watching? If people say if it was on Netflix, everybody, if you never saw Yellow Jackets is a series on Showtime. It's about a group of girls who are on a soccer team who crash on a mountain, kind of like that movie where all the people on the soccer team crashed on a mountain. And they have to survive, but it follows them. It takes place also about 20 years after that into the future. So, and going back and forth, it's really good. It's got Juliette Lewis in it, who is totally the female Nicolas Cage. She is just amazing. It's got Christina Ricci, and you wouldn't be able to recognize Christina Ricci. That's how awesome the character is. And it's got Ruthie from I Don't Want to Live in This World Anymore, as in, it's not your lawn tiger, Ruthie. So if you really do, you should check this out, folks. This show is like too good to be on TV. Now, for music, this week I'm actually recommending an entire group. And this group is called Devil in the Universe. And they are some sort of weird satanic goat cult. And you would think, oh, it's gimmicky. And normally if something's kind of gimmicky, the music not that good, they have to have a gimmick. This music is amazing. This group is really, really good. If you want to do the Christmas thing, they actually do have an album called Thank Goat It's Christmas, because the goat. Yeah. Anyway, Devil in the Universe, it comes from Aleister Crowley choosing two cards. One was the devil, the other was the universe. The band is really amazing. This band is so good, folks, that in order to keep you from discovering them or any other new band, the music industry paid for an 8-hour documentary about some crappy boy band from the 60s, directed by the guy who thought that The Hobbit should be 3 movies long and have the sandworms from Dune in it. So yeah, please, if you get a chance, please check out Devil in the Universe. Big tip.
I recommend a mix on Mixcloud by General Slocum, and it's called A Christmas Rorschach. And General Slocum is actually Andy Bresnan, who used to direct the Big Mess Cabaret. And he was in Butterfly Joe and in Baby Flamehead. But Christmas Rorschach is a mix that he made of Christmas music that I find somewhat enjoyable. Pretty much, I like the whole thing. And it's a nice background for a Christmas day if you don't have any other music to listen to. And I also recommend following General Slocum because he makes a lot of mixes, and they're almost always very interesting. He also just made another Christmas mix this year called Christmas Tree Gazing Mix, and it's all, interestingly enough, medieval music from before the year 1200. So I haven't listened to all of it yet. I just started, but I think I'm going to finish it. I recommend it.
I get so tired when I go to the record store. I go, do you have anything from Crete? before the year 1200. And then they got, oh, take a look.
But yeah, and Andy knows a lot about music, and just his descriptions of his mixes are interesting to read.
I would like to recommend the film The French Dispatch, which I recently saw. And I think I have to see it again. There's just too much happens in it to really understand, but it's really incredibly done because it's a pretty unique idea. It's about this guy who has a magazine in Kansas that's all these stories from France. So the way it's kind of like laid out, it's kind of like a magazine, and it says like this first story and the pages and stuff, and then it does this story, and then there's another story, and they're kind of, it's cool. And it's got a great cast in it too. Benicio del Toro is awesome in it. He plays this kind of insane artist. But yeah, so I would recommend that. It's in theaters now, limited screenings left, I think, at the Ritz. There's a couple at the Ritz if you're in Philly.
This week, I'd like to recommend 2 web articles written by writer Tom Whitwell, who is an Englishman, I believe. The first one is entitled 52 Things I Learned in 2021, and I think he does this every year. And it's just a list of odd things that he's learned over the past year. I'll cite a couple of them. Number 11, almost 30 years after he died, the remains of Mexican architect Louis Barragan were converted into 2-carat diamond by a conceptual artist. The diamond was then offered to his family in return for access to his privately owned archive. It didn't work out. So, and he provides the link to the full story for these things. Number 35 is clean rooms used to make semiconductors have to be 1,000 times cleaner than a surgical operating theater because a single transistor is now much smaller than a virus, which I thought was very interesting. And let's see, number 50, for $64 an hour, you can hire an LA photo studio that looks just like the interior of a private jet to impress people on Instagram. Okay, so we'll provide the link to the full article and you can read it.
What if you can get that done in an hour?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Maybe you want, next time we go to LA, we should rent it for an hour.
That's the company that has all. If you're watching, there's a company I don't know. I have to find the video or something. There's a company that just does plane interiors. So if you see a movie where there's a plane interior, they have all different kinds of planes. They're all period authentic. They're all, and it's a fascinating video. And they have the exteriors. Oftentimes when you see a video, you see like a rap group walking away from their private jet. It's not their, it's these folks, and that they do the interiors and everything. I think even the interior going all the way back to Fight Club when they have the scene on the plane and everything. I think they did that.
I have a cousin who's a flight attendant, and she just posted a picture on Instagram recently. I guess you have to, as a flight attendant, you have to get certified every year for plane safety, obviously. And she showed a picture of the training area where they have little areas of all the different types of exit doors on planes. And I guess you have to be able to know how to open every single door in a certain time period to be certified each year or whatever. I thought that was pretty interesting.
You know how they come by and they say, you're sitting by the emergency exit and you have to give me can you do this? You have to give me a verbal agreement. And there was this guy who kept shaking his head. And the woman was, you need to give me a verbal agreement. And he kept shaking his head. And she's like, you have to say, and his girlfriend's like, he shook his head. And I actually had to raise my, I said, excuse me, ma'am, don't let this guy, I'll sit there. I understand. I can say, yes, I understand verbal. I'll be in charge of the door. I have no problem with that. I cannot let this guy, I cannot fly in a plane where this guy has to open the door. And him and his girlfriend didn't seem to understand how I was insulting them, which made it even better.
Maybe it was D.B. Cooper.
It might have been. It would have to be like the great-great-grandson or the great-grandson.
Because he knew how to open those doors, even while they were in flight.
He knew how to open those doors, yes. He just didn't know how to properly work the parachute.
Or live, maybe.
Or live, yes.
Okay, number 2. I'll get to my second recommendation. The second article is called 10 Lessons in Productivity and Brainstorming from the Beatles. Yes, Ronnie, I'm citing. This is an article that he wrote taking 10 ideas from the Beatles documentary that just came out that are good for productivity and brainstorming. And I will point out that number 1 is our favorite here on this show, the yes and rule that we've talked about many times.
Yes,
That's
and
it.
check out Ghost for the best thing of yes and. Yeah, I am just, there's a great article, and I should put a thing up to it on the Washington Post called "The Beatles Are Overrated," and it's not our fault. And basically, this poor guy. I went to a flea market last weekend. It turned out not to be a dark market; it was more hipster oriented. So I'm already have a target on me. And this guy had vinyl, and he had Beatles albums. He goes, "I have Beatles vinyl," and I said, I'm not into vinyl or the Beatles, and you would have think I took a shit right there on the floor. All right, is that it for this evening? We have any old business, new business? Can we get? I drank all of the Baileys infused.
I could read to you guys the some of the additional lyrics to Santa Claus is Coming to Town that Bing Crosby may have added.
Are these dirty?
Little tin horns, little tin drums, Rudy Toot Toot and Rummy Tum Tums.
I've heard that one.
Santa Claus is coming to town. And curly head dolls that cuddle and coo. Elephants, boats, and kitty cars too. Santa Claus is coming to town. The kids and girls in Boyland will have a jubilee. They're gonna build a Toyland town all around the Christmas tree. In Boyland?
Does Santa Claus have to
He probably added these lyrics because he's like, these are creepy as fuck. I want to give the kids something that won't scare them to death.
Wait, are these a special Bruce Springsteen lyrics?
No, this is it's credited to Bing Crosby. I don't know.
Oh,
You know?
I didn't know.
So my question is, Dan,
Let's see Bruce doing the little tin horn, little tin drum.
curly-headed girls down in Boys Town. Hey, Dan, does Santa Claus have to notify the neighbors when he moves into a neighborhood? My name's Chris Kringle. Just to let you know, there was an incident with the girls and boys band and the curly-headed dolls, and not so much my fault, but yeah, I gotta let you know I live here.
The little bugger schnockered, son of a bitch. Are you sure?
Goodbye, dear.
You are.